cry to me and go, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a cent. Keep on making short films. Have you thought about stepping up? Most people were non-actors in our film. We would have lost the film and also lost the rights to our prequel and sequel. Once you sign with us, you got to use that MG and pay for all these other expenses. So through Film Hub, we got onto I think about over 12 different platforms. Yeah, we don't want to go through distributor. Power is shifting from institutions to the individual.
Going the self-distribution route.
Work and that's it. That's just sad, right?
Everybody else has that data and we don't normally get it.
They think that if I go to AFM, that's going to be it. I'm going to make it. And then they spend all this money and then nothing's happened.
Miss Maria Tran.
Hello. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Awesome. So we know that I know that you are a very successful independent filmmaker who is out there kicking all kinds of butt and taking all kinds of names. And I'm very excited to talk to you because the last time I saw you, you guys were not premiering, but you were screening Echo 8 at the Austin Action Fest. Was that 2024?
Yeah. Oh, I think it was before that, was it? 23 or? I can't remember. It's a while.
It might have been. I'm not even sure. But
22, maybe, yeah.
Okay. But anyways, whatever year that was, Echo 8 did very well. Won a bunch of awards. You guys did very well with that movie. We were very impressed because what was the budget for that film again? That feature film?
Feature film was on $6,500 shot in 14 days during COVID.
Wow. Okay. 14 days during COVID. That is tremendously impressive. So what made you think you could even do that? Because everything is stacked against you in that scenario. Very small, micro budget, COVID, that's a lot. 14 days.
Yeah, it was. It's funny because my sister's the writer, and we were actually supposed to do a short film, and it was called The Flushback. It was like a Groundhog Day time traveling toilet that keeps on repeating this fight scene over and over again. And we were about to shoot it, and then she kind of turned to me. She's like, you keep on making short films. Have you thought about stepping up? And this is your sister, if it's family. She said that. And I was like, oh, okay, what do you mean? She's like, I'm just saying. I'm like, well, are you going to write the script? And she's like, yeah. And then we kind of egged each other on. And then I gave her 2 weeks and she wrote a script. And she just handed it to me.
Wait a minute. I'm taking notes here. 2 weeks, finished script.
Yeah. So based on a couple of ideas, she goes, so what kind of film do you want? I'm like, maybe 3 characters, assassins, a dad's going away to Vietnam. So we've got his house in one location, go off and write something. And then she ended up writing something. And prior to that, she's written a lot of things that have got commissioned. She is a nurse by day and a writer by night. And since she got the script, it was like, I'm the oldest sister, you know what I mean? So I can't back out. So basically I was like, okay, if this is going to happen, I'm going to have to use all my savings and make it happen because it's family now. You can't back down,
Yeah, especially if it's your sibling is talking smack and talking down, you have to, that makes sense. I get you. Okay. So she did that. And then you guys you emptied the savings and Takashi was game.
Yeah, Takashi's always game. I think at that point we were kind of going, where are we going to go? We're actors, we do action, we do short films, but the industry's just not looking at us. And I don't think they ever will be. There's always going to be a barrier unless we do something that turns heads a bit. And if we succeed, we not only succeed, but a bunch of people in our area, which is kind of seen as the ghetto, they're going to succeed as well. Right.
Okay, I don't know anything about Australia, so I don't know where the ghetto is or is not.
Ghetto's the west side. So we have the Sydney city, and then the west side's full of a lot of migrants. So it's always kind of seen as, the melting pot and all the gangsters that are out there. So we're kind of based out there making films. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome. So, this story is getting better. I knew some of this. I did not know a lot of the things you're bringing up. So, okay, you're in the ghetto. There's gangsters. It's gangsters everywhere. You got $6,000. You got your sister challenging you to go bigger. You got to put up or shut up, and you have your dad's house for a couple of weeks. Correct?
Yes, for the main location to shoot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, and you guys just made it happen.
Yeah, well, you know what? First off, we kind of wrote characters that we kind of knew. Most people were non-actors in our film. So we kind of had this idea of, okay, there's people in the community that wanted to act because I've been an educator over the past 10 years in the community. Because
Okay.
my role was to run workshops for the at-risk communities to tell their stories. So I kind of have all these different collective of people and organizations I could tap
Mm,
into for help, and they
yeah.
kind of spread the word. And then it became a thing. Oh, Marie Tran's making a movie. Marie Tran's making a movie. So everyone's trying to like trying to be a part of it. So at times we're like writing people in because we're like, what if this is our only shot? Can you imagine? This is our only shot. We're making a movie, and it's the only time we're going to see on the big screen. So we're going to fit in as many people who's never been on screen
Mm,
before just to pay
oh my
homage
God,
to them
that is.
and make it happen, right?
If
So
you
we did that. So yeah.
did you okay, so for the everybody else out there, you guys probably already know. We're working on Chronicles. We have a mercenary project that's very similar, much more compressed budget than the other movie we have in store. And our conversations sound so much like what you're talking about right now, Maria. Like talking about people not having opportunities, who've never had a chance to do this kind of a project, people not paying attention, having to do something in order to turn ahead, having done a bunch of shorts, being tired of doing that and wanting to go to the next level, but having a very small budget to do that. So like the whole time you're talking, I'm just like I'm hearing conversations that we've recently had. So this is
Mhm.
awesome. Please continue. I'm learning a
Yeah.
lot.
And like, and you just get people along the way. And the main thing is, to be honest with you, when you do a feature film, I find that like the main people, myself, my husband, and Elizabeth, we're always going to be the key. So we actually have to always be at the forefront, which means we have to do most of the work, have most of the energy, have all the answers.
Mm.
And when things fall apart, it's our fault. So we
You have to
that I
lead.
yeah, we have to. We
Yeah.
can't go, oh, it's because of this and that. And because we didn't really have a budget, we also had to like tag team and hold the cameras. We ended up buying a cheap secondhand. It was the Black Magic.
The pocket
You know,
cinemas.
yeah, a 4K back then.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we used the same. We bought an old one again for the second and third movie anyway, as well, and we used that, and I was framing most of the shots when it comes to dramatic stuff. And to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest, in my first film. I don't know. But you know what I realized? It's the most liberating thing is when you don't actually have a full DOP for your film.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? You are the DOP. So you
Yeah.
have to really think in your head, is that the shot you want? You can't just delegate to someone who might have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
That DOP might have a bad day, or that DOP. I have DOPs where sometimes I work with them and they don't like shooting certain people and they just shoot them really badly. They light them up really badly. I don't know if you ever had them, but
I've never
I've
had
seen that happen. But because now that I've got the skills from shooting my own films, I know how to light things as well. So your first film is where, to be honest, the less you have, the more it's going to test you
Mm.
to gain these skills. So as you scale, no one's ever going to bullshit you. You know what I mean? So because in the film industry, there's a lot of people who say that they're good, and then when they're
And they're
actually on the
freaking
job, like
terrible.
you're like, "What is this?" You're like, I'm a DOP. This is what I do. I'm like,
This is
that light is gonna make that girl ugly. What are you doing?
everything you're saying right now. So like a lot of people don't know this because I don't talk about it much. I've shot like 3 features. They weren't
Mm,
my features. So one movie I was an actor and then it went bad. But something happened with their videographer and they knew we could shoot. And so like me and my brothers came in and shot the rest of the movie, and
mm,
helped edit it. And then another movie, we were hired to shoot an entire movie over a summer, with Jessica Gonzalez out of Colleen. And then I shot a horror movie in Houston. Like it was a
mm,
crew of 2 people. We
Mm,
shot a whole horror movie. So like I've actually done that, so I know exactly what you're talking about, where you have to make those choices, or the director doesn't have a strong vision, and so it's
yeah.
kind of it's largely your vision. So no, I 100% understand everything you're saying right there.
Yeah, yeah. So after like doing that film, to be honest, I didn't think it was gonna go. Like we made it, we finished it, we put it out there, but we didn't think it was gonna be a big thing until
Mhm.
we put it into film festivals. We put on Film Hub, and it made its money back. It's doing really well, and then different broadcasters wanted it as well. And I'm so, to be honest with you, I'm so glad that we didn't go through a distributor. Like
So
so.
so before we get there, because I have a lot of questions there. So you wrote the script in 2 weeks. Were you doing like pre-production yourself while she was writing it, or was it we got a script, let's just go?
Well, I think in between when she's writing it, I'll tell her like what we have. So I'll be like, okay, we have this, we have that. Potentially might have this actor, but if this actor doesn't do it, we'll have this other person. You know, if we can't get this person, I'll train this old lady around the corner to act, and then she'll be in the scene. You know, so it was always kind of like
Wait a minute. So
that.
so if the old lady isn't good at the time of like, are you scheduling additional time because they're not actors to be like, hey, I need a little more time to coach them either before the shoot or at the
Most of
time of
the
the
time, I can do it on set. Like, if even if I met them for the first time, I
Mhm,
can kind of like get a sense of their ability
mhm,
and what it is that they struggle with, whether it is a dialogue, whether it's nerves, or whether they haven't, worked on their performative voice. So I'll be able to adjust it basically
okay.
in real time and get the
Wow.
shot.
Okay, that
Because a
is.
lot of times they don't have time to rehearse. These people aren't actors.
Mm,
So they have a great look. Like if they've got a textured face, there's something about it, that the camera is just going to soak up,
mhm.
and you just got to get them. You get them then and there, a couple of hours, shoot them, and that's it. You move on. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so you do that. You finish this film. Now you go to Film Hub. So you didn't do AFM. You didn't do the full. Did you like the full festival run, or do a
We
couple
only
and then?
No, we did some like the smaller, like, just different film festivals just to get a taster of it. But
Mhm.
at the same time, we found also there's a bit of a stigma with action genre as well. It's
Yes.
kind of seen as not a particular tier. People look down on it. And we just kind of looked at it and we go, oh, wow, now we didn't realize there was this thing. But at the
I did
same
not
time, we
prime her, audience, for the record. I did not prime her to say that, but that is the entire reason we created the Austin Action Fest, was what literally you just said. That was the
mm,
reason. We didn't see that people wanted, so besides like genre festivals and specifics, they didn't appreciate all the energy that went into these action films. So I'm glad you were able to find us. Okay, so we were one of the
mm,
one of the smaller festivals you came to see. So thank you so much. But continue.
yeah.
Okay, so you
But
went to
also,
some of the smaller festivals.
the thing is, like, the bigger festivals, a lot of times they're run by elitists. So, they've got particular tastes. They want certain stories to
Hmm.
appeal to the vanity and their sensibility being. Whereas for us, we make action genre because it represents like a sense of empowerment. It represents
Hmm.
our reclaiming of agency. You know what I mean? All the things that we've been taken away from us in society, we're able to get a bit of that back for ourselves, for our stories, and to put onto the big screen.
Hmm.
People don't understand the importance, the cultural significance of that, but that's what we do. And,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter that it doesn't go to their sort of appetite, because
Yeah.
out the community, when we put it out there, the people that watch it, that really resonates with it, that's who we want to reach. So yeah, I did the festivals, and it was just interesting because a lot of people resonated with the family story, which, to
Hmm.
be honest with you, the story did stem from the real story of what my family went through, which is, extramarital affair, family breakup, and, family falling apart,
Yeah.
but also merged into an assassin world. And but at the same time, we realize, wow, people still resonate with a solid story, a story that they can relate to. And a lot of Asians would come up to me say, I've never seen a family breakup story in this such a cool genre, because
Okay.
this is relatable to me because this happens a lot in our community. We don't ever see it on screen,
Yeah.
but we're able to watch it in this genre. You know what I
That's
mean?
cool.
So it's so good to be able to break ground with creating stories that are not necessarily there, but fusing it with other aspects so that it becomes more accessible as well.
Yeah, and being a little more grounded. You don't have, I don't know, Rambo running through here and not caring. Well, Rambo's not a great example, but you know what I mean. Like a superhuman character who's like a Terminator who doesn't care about anything and he's not dealing with his college debt, and he doesn't have an ex-wife or a kid who doesn't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Like he's just the cool guy the whole time and super powerful.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why people talk about liking Spider-Man so much, is because he's one of the only heroes where you're watching him deal with, like, I don't have enough money to pay rent, but I've also
Mhm.
got to save the world. um
Yeah.
so so well done, awesome, great. So you put together this movie, it's resonating with people. You go to Film Hub, and so were you unable to get like a sales agent, or do you say, I didn't want to go that route, I
We
want to go to Film Hub
got
direct?
one. We got one that was very interested in our film,
Okay.
and like he gave us some offers, like is it Gravitas or Gravitas
Yeah.
Ventures and Alarm Pictures and a bunch of other ones. But
Okay.
when we did the research, we're like the terms and conditions felt like we would have lost the
Hmm.
film and also lost the rights to our prequel and sequel.
Oh,
That was a big deal for me.
okay. So they
It really
wanted
did.
like the rights to everything, even what you were. Wow. So
Yeah.
not like a. So you're saying that the contracts weren't saying like, hey, we get at least the first look at those things. It's like, no, we own that too.
Well, the contract was like, here's an MG, but once you sign with us, you got to use that MG and pay for all these other expenses before
Oh.
we actually can acquire it. And I'm like, that does that? So that means I'm going to be out of pocket. And on top of that, I don't see anything back, and I lose the film that was made with blood, sweat, and tears from the community.
Okay.
You get exposure. You get a
Okay.
lot of people watching it, and then you get to maybe make your second and third. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, because then I lose the rights to put it into whatever festival I want and to also negotiate my own broadcast rights with people. I didn't like
Okay.
that.
So did you, when you went to Film Hub, that meant that that's a non-exclusive, correct, with Film Hub at the
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Okay. So were you still selling any of your product directly from a site or anything, or was it all your marketing
Just
was going to Film Hub?
it was we didn't even do any marketing, to be honest. It was like a
Really?
couple of things here and there on Facebook, but like it was all Film Hub. Film Hub, like I mean, I have to admit, it took a lot of like effort to figure it out. And luckily, Takashi was very technical, and we got rejected a couple of times, like twice. And I think
Okay.
the third time it's a strikeout. So we're really, really mindful, going, oh my gosh, we might not be able to get it on, Film Hub, right?
Yeah.
But finally, the third time, we got everything cleared, the QC and all that. So it's on there. And then I think it was like the first 6 months, it was like doing well. And I think it's because, first off, action genre, you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of Asian action genre projects like on Film Hub that is
Mm,
for Western kind of world, English speaking, right?
correct.
So and yeah, and then I think we were really happy once we got on Tubi, because Tubi was where a lot of the money came through.
Okay.
And then but now it's different now. Now I think Amazon Prime then was starting to pick up in terms of numbers.
Okay.
And then I think Real Shorts started to pick our film up as well through Film Hub, and the numbers came through there. But now YouTube, it's on YouTube,
Okay.
movies and that's making the money. So overall, like I think the last 2 years that it's been on, it's made like about 10K.
Okay. 10K for 6.5K. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. And keep in mind that's 2 years. So
Yeah.
they'll probably, keep on adding dribbles as we go. But the good thing is we have the report. And some people might tell me, oh, the fact that you do that, you can't get bigger money. And I'm like, am I doing it for the money? Come on. I'm doing it because we need information.
Yeah.
And that information is going to help a lot of us to navigate how we make movies. Because I have a lot of colleagues of mine who would put their films through different distributors and later turn around and cry to me and go, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen a cent for like 3 years." And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Film Hub, you see a cent. You'll see your cent within, X amount of months. And you
Okay.
can tell also where it's coming from. So through Film Hub, we got onto like I think about over 12 different platforms. Yeah.
Wow, nice. So what would you say? So you're saying right now Tubi is still has done the most for you, or has it shifted to Amazon or?
It's shifted. It was kind of like it was Tubi was first. It shot up really quick, and
Mhm.
then Amazon started catching up. But now YouTube TV
Okay.
movies is doing pretty well. Yeah.
Okay.
So we
Awesome.
don't know. We don't really know what platform, how it goes, but that was how the trajectory was over the time span.
Okay. And with the I know that I think Film Hub now has some kind of a tiered program.
Yeah, see, that's a thing that because I bought the second and third film,
Hmm.
and I'm also trying to figure out, oh man, we got additional costs we have to factor because it
Yeah.
costs us like $1,000 or 2,000 to just get on it,
Correct.
right? So to even recoup that, we have to figure out a different strategy. But then this time around, because we've got more producers on board,
Hmm.
a lot of times we can go back to the producers and just tell them, update them on where we're at. But essentially, we do want to blast our film out there. We don't want to go through like another pathway. We don't want to go through distributor at
Okay.
all.
Well, that
Yeah.
sounds well. One, you have a little bit more. Like people know who you are. You have some cachet because of what you did with the first
Mhm.
project. So hopefully, has any of the energy you've created with Echo 8 has that transferred to maybe like a social media following on Instagram or Facebook so that you can promote the second and third movie?
To be honest, don't know
Mm,
because I don't feel like I do get a lot of traction on social media.
okay.
But I have a feeling the people, the small audience that watch me,
Mhm.
they're the ones that are going to support. So sometimes it's not about having a huge audience, it's about
Yeah.
the audience that you have that have the finance and the resources that can back you up. So I
Okay.
feel like I got that sort of captive audience.
Okay.
And also, like for me, when it comes to movie making, we gotta also, if we want to get money and resources, we gotta speak the business way, the lingo, and also even in our socials, figure out how to reach those people as well. So yeah, and I
Okay.
think each time I do turn up on socials, it is just to let people know it's still here, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening.
Yeah.
And and also I'm trying to now the next thing is help people who's a part of Echo 8 build an agency in how they promote themselves and how they leverage off the project. Because a lot of
Awesome.
the actors that we do have, they just think that once the movie's out that they're going to be big. I'm like, no, come on. Like the project might do well, but you need to also do your own marketing. You can't just
Yes.
rely on the project to think you're going to make it. Even for me, even though the project might do well, but nobody knows who I am, so I still need to do the work to find ways to retell the story and get it out there.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, because I'd seen you really busy. I didn't know if that was you were doing that because you were just hustling, or you had an agent doing that, or if that was some residual smoke from all the work you done at Echo 8. People were going, "Oh my gosh, she's making these movies. Let's have her come on our next thing." Because I saw you pretty busy for the last 2 years.
Well, I think it was kind of an interesting thing because I got lucky, or part of it. It's so interesting because after doing Echo 8, there was this other big TV series on in Australia, a Paramount series, 10
Hmm.
episode by one with Tim Roth. Everyone was auditioning for it except for me. And because I do a lot of coaching for a lot of the actors, and the actors kept on getting the same script, and I was like, "What is this show?" And I'm coaching them to do the tape, right?
Hmm.
And then I asked my acting agent, and she's like, "Oh, okay, let me ask." And she asked the production. The production said, "No, she doesn't look like she's the part. Like we don't need her to audition." And I went back and I was like, "Well, can you at least give me the sides more than the tape? If you don't like it, you can burn it."
Yeah.
you know, just let me do it, right? And then they go, fine, fine, here you go. And then within, I think it was like 3 weeks, I got a call back, and then they flew me back for that. And
Wow.
that just shows you. And you know what? The reason why they didn't think I was the part,
Hmm.
oh, she only does action. She can't do drama. That was
Really?
what a lot of the people, like casting people, casting directors, saw me as, because they, oh, she only does action.
That is
And it's always, oh, she only does action, like as if it's so lowbrow, like it's so nothing. You know what I
the
mean?
disrespect. The
It is.
disrespect.
And then at the same time, like, oh, but she looks too young. She can't play this character. And I'm like, yeah, I'll show you. And, I got the audition, and I
Yeah.
went back. And again, there was always going to be factors in the way of you doing your job. And again, when you get a job, you've got to go 120%, like, because you're going to be the small guy who's on set, or the colored person on set, and
Yeah.
everyone else is mainstream. So you got to know that you've got to be on call. So yeah, and
Yeah.
I did that project, and it did really well. But you know what? I realized it was an $80 million like TV series, and I thought to myself, how come, like, okay, this is $80 million, but I still find it so fulfilling to do indie
Mm.
movies, because there is still more control,
Yeah,
and
that's not your movie.
there's more care factor,
Mm.
because you have more ability to care. Everyone who you comes on board your film, they care. And you can tell when someone's caring or not. If they're not, if you know that they're not the right vibe, then you're like, nah, I'm sorry, but you can't be a part of it. But on a big
That's fair.
production, a lot of times it's a bunch of executives making decisions,
Yeah.
and they don't really see the full picture of their, the film set. But
No,
yeah.
we've definitely chatted. Actually had a conversation about that the other day, and I was talking about the Chronicles project, and someone was saying, "Well, what if you do this and somebody has a feeling about it?" I was like, "I don't care." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm coming in with the right intention. I know why I'm doing these things to help people and to give people an opportunity. Yeah, to make money, but we want to make something epic that affects other people the way that I was affected when I saw Lord of the Rings
Exactly.
or Record." Somebody had an anime thing about "You're a real one if you remember this," and it was Record of Lodoss War. I don't know if you know what that is, but um, it's a old one of those old hand drawn animes. This is like around the Akira time
Ah,
frame, but it's
into
fantasy.
country knows.
Yeah, it's
My
deep in
husband
it.
knows
It's like Legend of the Heroic Knight. There's all these different things, but the point is, when he said that, I was like, if you're gonna come onto my set and
that.
we're all making this movie that's like this is going to be some people's dream come true. They've never got a chance to hold a sword and be cool in a
Mm.
film, and you're salty because the rate's not what you wanted to be, or there's not enough Topo Chico and Crafty. This is not the right fit for
Yeah.
you. Like if you're that person, you should not apply to the thing.
Mm.
Like if you're not excited, and if being on set isn't like the highlight of your day compared to whatever thing you did in the office the other 2 days, then this isn't the right thing for you. I want to work with people who want to be here. And I've worked for child support. I've worked for collections and retention and sales. Literally jobs where no one wants to be talking to you. They're all mad, and it's like, this is not what I got in the film for. So what you're saying is totally true. It's like, I got into this to work with people who are excited and inspired to be doing what they're doing, because that's
Yeah.
energetic. I don't want to be around a bunch of dead weight. So now
No.
you're killing it. That's exactly. I'm 100% on board with you with that.
Yeah. And you know what? Because when we're indies, we can't afford to fail. Because to
Mm.
even get a project up, how hard is it that you have to go off and get the resources managed? You're like managing so many different things. So anyone that comes
Yeah.
in with, like, I had one actor who's like, "Oh, I don't want to work with non-actors," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, you're gone. You're gone." I'm like, and like, he's like, a trained actor. I'm like, you and your acting's not that great anyway. So why are you saying
Ooh.
this? Like, and the thing is, some people will have their egos, and they will test your leadership capacity.
Mm.
And then you have to go, no, no. And I've even had producers who, put money into the film, and I return the money because I'm like, I'm not having your energy. I don't want your money. What do you mean? Like, no, because money is not what this project's about. If you
Yeah.
want, you can come on board and put your money in, and then have a credit and all, and be a part of and see
And
what
just be
how
in the
this,
background. Just don't talk. Just don't talk.
But if you're gonna come in and you're gonna like, say things and, turn your nose up, no,
Yeah.
that's that you're
No,
out.
that's
Here's your money.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so it sounds like your team, everyone involved has a high level of passion for what they're doing. Um, I love that. I love that. So you made a movie, you got it distributed. So you went through 6,500 for the first one. So what happens with the next movie? So normally our thought process, the first dream is I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to put it through all the festivals. Everyone's going to love it. I'm going to go to AFM. They're going to give me uh $100,000 for this movie or $200,000 for this next movie, and it's going to be great. You didn't do that. You went to Film Hub, essentially self distribution for the most part. So then you make the second movie. What is the budget for the second movie?
Oh, second and third. So I
Second,
shot
third.
two movies. Yeah. I shot two movies in 50 days. So
Okay.
it was a budget. Both movies were like $30,000 US, and it had a cast and crew of over 200 people. People got paid. Just not a
Okay.
lot, but everyone got paid. Yeah.
Okay. Over 200 that's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
And
It was
50
crazy.
days.
Yeah.
And where did you shoot this at? Like, what was the primary location?
Was in Sydney, Australia. So I flew
Okay.
back for that and just made that happen. Yeah.
Got you. All right. So you got that knocked out. So tell us what's going on with those two. What's the current?
Currently, they are in post production, and we're planning for like a cinema screening at in December this year.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
so
So
for both two movies, but it's
okay.
like it's a lot of work. It's like one movie, like the sequel's like 2 hours long, prequel's 90 minutes, and there's a lot of visual effects. And this time round, we don't have a visual effects person, so Takashi had to learn a lot. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
She's like, why do we have so many shooting scenes and I have to put all these debris and all the and yeah, so
Okay.
you know we got like a budget, but it seems like it's more pressure on the key crew to
Yeah.
get everything done as well. Like even for me, I do a lot of graphics, motion graphics and stuff, and he does a lot of the big stuff.
Okay.
Um and yeah, but I'm telling you, the second and third is gonna look so wild. Like I'm
That's
so happy.
awesome.
My first one when I made it, like I didn't even know what I got when I was editing. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know what you got. But now for the second and third, each time we open the time lab, I'm like, oh. And sometimes we're watching the whole film from beginning and end. And we're like, oh shit, we're supposed to edit. What are we doing?
Okay,
Oh,
so you have these two scheduled for next year. So then what's the plan? Like so is the intention to go Film Hub again, or are you open to having those conversations with distributors again?
I think we'll have conversations, but based on what happened last time,
Hmm.
we're kind of aware of what the deals are like
Yeah.
because, and the fact that, yeah, I mean, I guess the system, they're like, to be honest with you, in between doing these projects, I did work at AFM. And this is probably a
Oh,
big deciding factor why I didn't go down distribution. I worked for a company called Anton, and they distributed was it the cleaner with Daisy Ridley?
yeah.
Yeah, so it was so interesting to be able to work there and see how they do sales, how to do pre-sales on their films, right?
Mhm.
And at the same time realizing, oh man, this is not my place. And I
Oh,
even spoke to my boss. She was beautiful, she's wonderful, right? She's like, you got edge, Marie. The work you do is so good, but we don't know what to do with you because our next film, we've got the director of Taken, and he wouldn't
mm,
want to have some girl being attached, a director's attachment, because it's a boys' club. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
everyone's got their clique. Where do you think you're going to fit in? You're doing great work. The only way you can make it is to make your own path. Because even if you were to fit in our system, we wouldn't
Mm.
let you get to this point. Like so.
Interesting.
And at that
Wow.
point, wow. So she's just like, man, but you're doing good stuff. People are going to be watching. You just got to be more at it. Just keep on making it. So that's why I did second and third because I'm like, if I've got the money, I'm not gonna wait. If I do one film, it's gonna take another blah blah years.
Hmm.
Might as well work our asses off and get two extra pictures, and we got a trilogy. And
Yeah.
after that, I can then go off and then figure out how to finance my fourth project. Could
What?
be an offshoot, but at the moment, Elizabeth and I, we've got some ideas that we want to shoot something in the US, in
Okay.
Las Vegas. So that's where we want to go in 2028 for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. 2028 Vegas. Just for the record, I know some people in Vegas. Let me know. I know some stunt
Mm-hmm.
guys from Texas that moved to Vegas. So let me know.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's
Mm.
awesome. Well, that I'm very excited about this. You need to keep us well updated on the progress, because this is one of the things we like to do at Austin Action Fest. You're giving us all intel, and part of the issue for those of us who want to do this and understand the business side is that we can't get information and data. A lot of our people haven't gone to AFM. They have no idea what that experience is like. So
Yeah.
you going and sharing some of that is very valuable. Not to mention, most people haven't distributed a movie yet.
Yeah.
So this is wonderful. Is there anything that, like, if someone wants to replicate kind of what you're doing and doing independent, what are some
Mm.
things that you think that they should be looking out for? Some people they should be watching, some folks maybe you got inspiration from?
Oh, well, watch in terms of movies, or you mean
Either
how?
any that or podcasts or speakers, anyone.
I personally think it's first off what your capabilities are. Like,
Mm,
if you want to do indie films, you've got to be so real with what is your true asset, your true strength.
mm,
Because I do get some people who are trying to get into indie filmmaking in Australia, and I can do this, I can do that, blah blah. But then the first day of set, they're almost out of steam. And I was like, how can you survive for all of your set? And you're the one who's everyone's trying to drag along, and you're the director.
yeah.
Like, you got to be the one who is there doing 20 hours and look like as if you're not tired. And that's how I command a lot of my shoots, is that people go, holy shit, she's scary. She's still, what, she's acting, and now she's directing, and also now she's that daughter wrangling. And she's got, no one complains because they know how hard I work.
Mm,
So therefore, everyone else will comply. So the thing is, you got to know your resilience. You got to train, like, especially action genre directors who want to do action genre and they're not fit.
mm.
Oh man, you're not gonna last your shoot. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
fair.
if you want to do action genre, you gotta be fit. Like, you gotta be training so that you can build your stamina, so you can last for the full day, so you can have clarity to make the right decision on set. Because when you make that decision, when you get into the editing suite, you're like, why did I even do that?
Hmm.
What was I thinking? Oh, I was hungry and I forgot that this is supposed to connect with this and this and this. And I really think people, as much as people love the idea of indie filmmaking, man, there's really got to be a lot of love behind it, but also a lot of perseverance. Like, you got to know that this is your thing. Even though for me, I call it my hobby because it's not the thing that I get paid to do. Like,
Okay.
I work in other fields, but this is my baby, where I know after work there is something that we're working towards that could change people. And you know what it's like, right? We like juggle so many things to keep this alive because we know it brings so many people together. And not only that, it is outside of the system. And we know how the systems are crumbling, whether it's industry, whether it's in the world. And you know who will survive? Resilient people, resourceful people. And we've already built the skills as an indie filmmaker.
And there was something you mentioned to me earlier. You said, before we actually started, you were saying, if we're not ready right now, if we don't get ready right now, basically the doors will be shut. Talk to me a little bit, like, what do you see? What do you see coming like that
I
from in the industry as a whole? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, like for me, okay, look, at the moment, what we're seeing around the world, okay, not only in the film industry, everywhere, the gatekeepers are losing power. All right. So the people who look like they've got power, who Hollywood used to control all the stories that get told, right?
Tastemakers,
But
yeah.
now we've got technology, crowdfunding, social media means we don't need that permission. So the power is shifting from institutions to the individual. Now, the thing is, institutions will crumble, but they're going to try to rebuild themselves up. right?
Hmm.
Because they're trying to make profit. It's always going to be that way. So we have a gap. We have a gap to skill ourselves up so that at least we have sustainability, so we can make films on a regular and
Hmm.
then build our own system. And then, we can then go make our deal and sell it to them rather than having them tell us what to do and then
Hmm.
make us work for them and make stuff that we don't want.
Yeah, and
You know
one
what I
thing is
mean?
if you have the ability to create, one, you don't have to move. You
Mm,
can make movies wherever you want to make those movies. That's one thing. And then two, I think that watching Hollywood recent in the last like 10, 20 years, it's like, oh, they don't know. Like I thought, the indie we didn't know what would sell. And that was the difference. And then you watch their blockbusters flop left and right. And he's like, oh,
yeah.
you guys don't necessarily know what's going to work either. Even when you have millions of marketing dollars, you still have the ability to absolutely totally miss the mark on a movie and waste billions of dollars. And so I
Mm,
I think that the future, at least for people like ourselves, is instead of trying to fight your way to a 40-50 million dollar movie, you could be tremendously effective at 50, 100, 200 and be profitable enough for
yeah.
someone to be willing to give you that 100 or 200 to do on the next movie and then the next movie. And maybe it's not going to be a Pixar, ILM, Marvel extravaganza, but you can put out some pretty quality movies for that level if people are dedicated and care. That is my belief.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the system, yeah, Hollywood and stuff, the movies are too expensive to be made, to be honest with you. Like, and keep in mind, indie filmmakers like us, we have the know-how how to do things for much less. I
Hmm.
think especially with the action genre, as the action genre indie filmmakers get more better at storytelling and knowing how to, expand on that, that's where we get much
Hmm.
more power to then go off into different genres and mix genres up and so forth. I mean,
Hmm.
coming out from AFM, definitely from what I've seen after working for that company for about 2 weeks, there is that the next they say the next 5 years, the most popular genre is action and horror, and there's currently now a shortage of it.
Okay.
There is a shortage of it.
What's
There's
funny is that we're actually trying to actively recruit more horror because a lot of people don't know that we count that at the action festival. Kick, stab, chase, jab. I mean,
mm,
what is Jason? Jason is chasing and stabbing.
yeah.
So most people don't know that we actually. I know horror is its own separate thing, but like as
Mm.
far as our festival is concerned, that's combined. So you're saying in the next 5 years, that is what they are lacking is dearth of. And they want
Yes.
more horror and action.
And people like us, we just need to create the visibility so that we can broker the deal to then sell our films because they're going to need it.
Were there any
You know what I mean?
particular territories that you saw there that were more hungry for like English speaking action?
It was all over the like when I was working in that company, I saw all the different like networks that were coming in, like basically negotiating.
Mm.
But the only thing why we wouldn't fit into that tier is that how it would work is that they would have a project
Mm.
and they would have like a bankable name actor, and there
Okay.
are tiers. I actually even learned that there are bankable tiers. There's like one, two, three, four, five.
Mhm.
Apparently, like even Michelle Yao is not even the first bank. She's not even bankable. She's like
Interesting.
number three because apparently Asians like are not bankable as a lead. They can aside, but if you put them as a lead, that would not get the pre-sales.
Ooh,
And if
I've
you don't
heard
get
this
enough
before.
pre-sales, if you don't get enough pre-sales, the project won't get greenlit. So stuff like that, I was like, whoa, my brain is like hurting because I'm just seeing filmmaking from as an indie perspective
Yeah.
and not realizing, oh, this is a whole negotiation financial puzzle piece that you guys are negotiating. People come in and go, okay, I'll pay for this, but I want this in negotiating before a film gets made, and then
Mm.
and then those companies will then go back to the makers and go, okay, look, we've got this budget. So we might have to make some changes to the script, or we have to shelve it, stuff like that. So the makers of the project are usually waiting to see if whether it's going to happen or not.
Okay.
And sometimes projects get shelved away because they just didn't get the financing, because it's just not the right time. It's just too much of a risk, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. What else do you know of that indie filmmakers who are not going to get a chance to have some of your experiences? What else have you seen that we need to be thinking about as we're putting together these next set of movies over the next 2 years?
We need to tap into funding from businesses, local businesses,
Okay.
and also understand that businesses have expenses, advertising expenses, marketing expenses that they can spend, and they can probably spend it on your film. So my second and third film, we got a lot of different businesses that would have product placement, but we have to make sure we put it subtle, right? We can't be like full on bad. Like this is, we have to be very
So
careful,
your
and
ninjas
that's
can't kill people with like Cutco knives or Pepsi cans.
yeah,
Like that's
well,
not,
stuff
not
like you got to be really subtle, but there is money there. There's money in because now the whole advertising industry, it's shifting. They're now looking at content creatives and the creative economy, which is
mm,
booming, which is going to boom even more to
yeah.
put money in. So therefore, you got to look at your film as potential vehicle of as advertising as well, if you want to
Mm,
finance it, because you will, when you set up a film, you've got one, I would say, one tier in Indiegogo crowdfunding. And to be honest with you, that is there because it's kind of telling the world, hey, we are here. And the cool
okay.
thing about the Indiegogo is that, like, once you advertise it, who knows? People will look at it, and if they like it, you get people who you don't even know putting money in. I've got people who have become producers who are from the Midwest, who are very like red hat wearing people. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, how the heck did you come across my film? Do you not see how diverse this film is? Like, but
Hey.
only because, they like the vibe, they like, whatever it is that they seem to like from the first one. So
Yeah.
and so the Indiegogo campaign will capture people who you won't know, but then you also need to have another section, which is the business section, where you go off and then figure out in your local economy who needs what advertising, what is it that your film can help tick the box for them.
Interesting. Okay. That
And
is
that's why, yeah, for our second movie, it's we kind of lessened the violence. We do have some really cool fight scenes, but we did have a girl that she passed away, and her father like owns a company, a business, and they support our film. But before she passed away, she wanted to be in the film, so we filmed her. And one of her thing was that she always wants to see little girls as strong,
mhm.
and she wants to build a world where there's more kindness. So with her kind of ideas and themes, I would have to ship it over to the writer, and the writer was like, oh, okay, maybe we can
Mm,
adjust our story so that young kids can watch it. So once it goes out into the theaters or gets screened, children can watch it because it's not too gory for them. So like stuff like that, having to know
okay.
that your film is going to be there just not only for yourself, but if there is a greater good to be made with the film, then you go there. So my
That's cool.
sequel for White is completely different genre. It's almost like slightly Naked Gun like action comedy,
Okay.
and people when they watch it, they could be like, "Wow, that's so great." We have so many wild characters. We have like these two like black guys wearing like Chinese restaurant like aprons, and they have a shootout in a Chinese restaurant, which is so cool, but no one gets shot. You know what I mean? So they have all this cool, like
That's
John Woo and everything, and and we're just like, no one gets shot, but shit just gets like blown up everywhere. So stuff like that, we thought we'll go down that route because
okay.
I'm not the one to think this is my project, this is how it's going to be.
Mm.
I'm also looking at, okay, what will bring in people to watch to create an experience. Yeah.
So, I'm now curious because we started right in the middle of exactly what I wanted to talk about. But just for people who briefly don't know anything about you, talk a little bit about how you got here? Like, did you know you wanted to do film since day one? Did you and Takashi get married with the intention of taking over the film world? Like, how did you get here?
I didn't study it, didn't study acting, didn't study filmmaking. I was a community worker. So I worked a lot I was an educator teaching a lot of migrants, refugees, women, at risk boys who don't do well in school,
Mm.
and would run like programs for them. And a lot of them want to make films. And boys like to do action films, you know what I mean? So I would be developing, choreography classes just for the educational purpose of helping them stay in school. And then during that process, I think it was one kid, he was like, "Oh, why don't you become an action star?" And I was like, what a stupid, what a silly idea. But then it got to me. I'm like, wait a minute, if I could do something of this, maybe that would create more leverage. So in between
Mm.
that, I was doing short films and so forth. And sometimes when you think of it as a dream and you're like, yeah, what if I was gonna be an action star? What if? And then people in the media would catch on, they think you are it. And then at that point, you're like, you can't back out. So you got to say, yeah, you are, and then one thing led to another. And the next
Why
thing you know,
does
that's
why does
people
that
think
keep
you,
pop? Why does that keep popping up in your story? Well, someone said this thing, and I can't back down.
mm,
That's the second
I
time. So it's
know.
your sister, now it's the
Yeah.
community. All right.
And then I think also after that, like even sometimes having little girls come up to me and goes, "Oh, I want to be strong as you." And then you realize, man,
Oh
this thing
wow.
that you're doing is beyond you. You can't think that you just want to be it because of because other people are watching
Hmm.
and they also aspire a way for themselves as well. So that's why I just kind of keep on doing what I do, because not because I mean I do love the action genre, but I think there is more of a humanity aspect
Mm.
of bringing people together that is important. And you know what, to be honest with you, like the action genre itself, predominantly, like if it's not coming from the community, I do find has I've had experiences where it has been very toxic.
Mm.
Like I have worked on sets where people wouldn't work with me devising choreography because I'm a woman and it's a Bangladeshi production.
Wow.
And they kind of look at me
Oh.
like, "Where's your action director?" I'm like, "Oh, I am Takashi's my assistant." They're like, kind of look around, what, And Takashi, yes, she's the boss. I'm like, and then having to also navigate that, but also do a good job for them to also change their mind to go, oh, she's just not some little Asian girl,
Mm.
which is what a lot of people think. They think, I'm just a happy
Wow.
little Asian girl, but they don't quite get that because I've been behind the camera. I have this capacity to do a lot of things. It can help make production go way faster than they think. Yeah.
That is wild. Yeah, it is crazy. People have a very limited, narrow-minded view on a lot of things. I literally someone asked me a question about that the other day about did I have an issue working for a woman? I was like, I don't care who I'm working for as long as they're good. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, but then again, like I'm a military brat. My mom and my dad are dual military. My mom was in E7 in the army. It's like I don't I don't care. I just want you to be competent and not waste my time. I want you to be a good leader and not waste my time. But you said something in there about working with in the community, and it's interesting that you said that because I don't talk about this much, but one of the main reasons, one of the big motivators for me for being some level of successful as a business owner, specifically in the entertainment genre, is that area is because I know a lot of people who are like young teenagers, and
Mhm.
we have a cool job. Like this is a cool job, right? Film and video cameras. It's sexy. People see the camera. Oh, they want to look. The kids love the camera. Speaking of which, that's a Black Magic right now that I'm shooting on.
Wow.
And so, because that's what we got when we first got started. And so it was interesting because one of the things we wanted to do is like I said, I wanted to be successful so that I had that extra level of clout when talking to youth. Because I work, huh? Am I getting called? People are yelling. I don't know what people are yelling outside. Um, I think it's the cats. The cats do a lot of different things, and it causes chaos in my home now. We inherited a house with two cats. Okay.
Okay.
But they're normally cool, but they're like other neighborhood cats that cause problems and like
Mm,
pit bulls running around. It's a whole situation. But moving forward, at risk youth. So I worked with at risk youth for Catalyst Collective. And so what I realized is me having that kind of a job, me having that kind of a career allowed me to talk to these kids who ordinarily, who is this old man? I don't care what he has to say. But if they say, hey, this dude's a stunt guy, hey, this guy was a professional dancer, he gets paid to make movies, suddenly
mm,
I have a little bit of cool points,
mm,
and now they'll listen to me a little bit. And so it's been really cool to be able to go to schools and go to different
mm,
colleges and talk to people who ordinarily may not really care about my opinion, but because I
mm,
can talk about exactly what they want to do, or they're an artist, and I can talk about the business side of being an artist in general.
mm.
Now they listen, and it means I now get to educate people who have maybe don't think of it this way about entrepreneurship and being a business
Yes.
owner and having control over your destiny
Mm,
versus waiting for someone to please let me create. So,
mm,
so yeah.
yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. We're living in a time where if we're waiting, we're behind. You know, we're waiting. Well, what are we waiting for? Everything's like kind of falling apart. The system's falling apart. Do we wait for what? It's time to shine. It's time to, and I think that's where when people, you will start to see those that will emerge out and then create that sustainability, like yourself and I. And there will be people who will struggle because it is not easy. It's not like anyone can do it because if anyone can do it, they'll be all doing it, right?
True.
So, yeah, so I really think that, and the fact that you even know how to cross pollinate, you're not just one thing, you know how to also bridge the gap within the different industries, and you even know how to talk to different audiences as well, even like kids in different communities. And that's
Hmm.
the skill that I feel like a really good indie filmmaker has that ability
Hmm.
to adapt, but also have that empathy to understand
Hmm.
where people are coming from as well. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And so I did have a question as far as like all the events you've been to, AFM. Are there any other festivals you've been to that you found to be particularly useful? Because I
Um,
know for us, we try, and the longer we exist, the more resources I have to do this. But
hmm,
we had a deal, like a hoopla deal, like 2 years ago. Then something happened with our distributor, so we couldn't offer that anymore. But we had a way to offer short films distribution, and then now
hmm,
we have just different sales agents that come to our event or will look at our best of fest. So like I think it's Katina and Rosner. Um,
hmm,
they're talking to a couple of our filmmakers right now because two of our winners, they said we really want to talk to them. One of those is an Asian film by
hmm.
I don't want to get his name wrong. Shane Kasugi.
We know Shane. Shane's one of our producers for Echo 8.
Really? So
Yes.
Shane
Yeah.
Kasugi and Seek, right? The
Yeah.
movie. So you saw the movie Seek?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it though. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I
So
know Shane. Yeah.
yeah, so there was a short film he put in our festival, and then he came back with the feature, and we were able to get him connected to some people. So we were very excited to be able to do that for people. Him, Maurice Moore, won some awards at our event. So we're
Mm,
connecting these people. We're trying to directly connect people with
yeah.
distribution and sales agents, so they can
Mm,
make money from their projects. Whereas
yeah.
when I went to a lot of festivals, I wasn't getting that kind of support.
Mm.
So have you been to any that were like, man, this place really did a really good job of connecting me with these folks or doing this for my career?
I think your one was pretty much a highlight. I think that was your
Hmm.
one. And there was the urban action one in New York,
Yeah.
only because they screened the Bruce Lee film right
Okay.
before after our film. That film came on, and then also realizing the cultural significance of that film as well. I was
Hmm.
like, whoa! So the fight that we are fighting in terms of being seen on screen has been something that's been ongoing from the very start with Bruce
Yes.
Lee in his film. You know what I mean? And especially when seeing some of the actors come out, and they're much older now, you kind of feel, whoa, nostalgia, but
Yeah.
also knowing that we need to keep on going this 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 thing that we are doing. But
Absolutely.
you know what? Like to be honest, even as I said, going back to AFM, like I feel like there is a bit of a club. Okay, like it's really hard for indie filmmakers to break through, and because even when I was working at that company, we had so many indie filmmakers come through, but they don't quite get that they won't get through. And even though I'm there to say hi, how are you and stuff, but also in my head knowing that these conversations will never get through because it's different, and I really think that AFM might be great to kind of look around, but to be honest, it's very expensive and you're probably worth spending that time and energy on your project, not trying to get your project to be seen because they're not going to get the look and feel that you think. And even if some of the distributors that are there, like I feel like there's certain tiers, right? So you got their A24. I remember it was A24 and the level above me, and then there's Anton's. Anton's quite a big one because they got $180 million from Studio Canal, so they got quite a bit of money for their like 5 to 10 year slate, and they were doing an action film as well with Hemsworth. I think it was Hemsworth or somebody.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, where do the indie filmmakers? They can never talk directly, and if they do, it's just yeah. And it makes me, it kind of hurts me a bit because we are told we can, like we potentially will. We were sold on this idea, that there's a possibility, which there is, but it's a very slim possibility. And for me to sit there and see all these filmmakers coming in, giving me their pitches, I was just like, wow, it's just like, that could have been me at the same time. And I realized, okay, I got to change the strategy up. And I really got to make other indie filmmakers know this because sometimes they think that if I go to AFM, that's going to be it. I'm going to make it. And then they spend all this money and then nothing's happened.
See, I've always advised everyone we've talked to, and in every one of my plans, no matter the budget, was how much of my rights can I retain? Can I sell a DVD or a digital download from a website, or can I not? Because if you're going to tell me I can't, what you're saying is you made a product. We're the only ones that can exploit that product. Well, you got to make that make sense for me, like right now, financially. You know what I mean? Like if I made a movie for $10,000, you're gonna give me a $5,000 minimum guarantee. Okay, I got $5,000. I haven't made my money back yet. I have to pray you've even got a plan to make my money back. And what happens if next year, Marrese Crump or I don't know, some famous other person, YouTuber, right? Some black YouTuber makes a movie similar to mine next year and you acquire that. Are you still going to push mine? Probably not in all reality, because you guys are chasing money. And so then does mine just get shelved? So I'm like, I need to have, I want to try to retain as many ways to exploit my product as I possibly can.
And also remember, once your product goes out there, like I had a friend who had her movie also distributed. She's also an action film as well. But then she was like, "No, we'll go with this guy." And then she never saw a cent. Never saw a cent. Right? Not only that, once she went with him, I think it was within 6 months, it was pirated. So you got to know that once you put it out there, that once you put it out there, you got to if you're an indie filmmaker, you got to figure out, okay, for me, okay, this is how I'm doing it. Okay. For my second and third film. All right. We're going to put it out there, put it on. I basically book out the cinema, figure out how much it costs, and then figure out how to sell the tickets, see if we can make the profit, and then see if we're going to make something from that. From there onwards, we might go to Film Hub and then figure out how to stagger some more, local screenings, negotiate with the theaters so that you can still make money. And because once it does go on the streaming platform, it's out there. But the thing is, your film lives much more better when a group of people come together and they have a shared experience. So you kind of want to have control over that rather than think that you're going to give it to a distributor and they're going to do that, because most of the time they won't, because it costs money to put it into the theaters, right? So if you can do the business yourself, you can do it yourself and then at least have a screening so that you know that there's already a captive audience. All the people involved in your film will want to support your film because their friends and family want to see the film. They want to see them on screen, so you gotta know that there is a window there to make something and then figure out along the way. But if, for example, you've already made your money from the crowdfunding, and also the business, sponsorship and stuff like that, then
Yeah.
whatever you do make after that, you can then go, okay, do I split it between the key creatives, or do I reinvest that to then build in the development of writing the script for the fourth one?
Yeah.
So that's how I like do it, so that at least we as filmmakers don't be out of pocket. We don't want to be out of pocket. If we can make a little bit, that's great, because it helps us build our confidence. And on top of that, we have to think long term. Do we want to put a bit into development of another script, so that at
Right.
least it gives the writer a bit more of encouragement to go, hey, we're doing this. So I think we've got to think of it that way.
I
Yeah.
think one of the things I've been trying to I have some thoughts, and I'll have more stronger opinions once I've done some of the things I'm talking about. But one thing I tell people, like when they come to the festival, is like, do you have a is there even a Facebook page or something where you can capture any level of your audience while you're doing your festival run? Because for some people, that's as much marketing as you're going to get, especially if you get into like a bigger festival.
Mm,
So if I like last year, we had No Retreat, No Surrender, Keith Strandberg and Keith Vitale come to the
mm,
event. Um, so if your movie was playing along with them, I'm running a press release for the fact that that's happening. We have two, 90s movie stars in the audience. Well, if you're not going to run a press release,
mm.
this is as big as your opportunity is going to get. You don't know who's going to show up. We sold
Yeah.
out a theater last year for Maurice Moore's Finding Solace. So
Mm,
we were sold out a whole theater. We had like half of another theater. So it was hundreds of people there. They brought their own media to our event. They were all over it. Like they were business owners, marketing. They were doing the indie thing, the hardest I've ever seen it done. So imagine if your movie was there coinciding with that screening and you had a website up. Maybe they came to see that movie, but they stayed and they
mm.
saw yours after. Okay, well, if you don't have a website up, there's nowhere for anyone to go to follow you. We're just waiting
Exactly.
for it to come out on Amazon. And if when it comes out on Amazon, I still may not be able to follow you. I gotta
Yeah.
track you. I gotta track you down. And so I try to tell people, I'm like, hey man, if you're gonna do the festival run, throw something up where people can find you, where maybe you can get an email address later. Because if you end up going the self distribution route, you have someone you can send an email to. Because we don't have that, but Netflix has that, Hulu
Mm,
has that, everybody else has that data, and we don't normally get it. So that was one of the reasons why I was curious about the Film Hub thing, is I know that they have certain data that's in certain tiers. So I'm
mm.
I'm gonna be curious to see what makes the most sense. Um,
Yeah.
we haven't had any direct conversations with them, but we do have indie rights
Oh,
coming.
India. Linda.
Yeah,
Linda Nelson. Yeah.
yeah. So we have the two of them coming this year. Actually, they'll probably do it virtually because of just the distance.
Mm,
Talking to our audience and talking about distribution. That's going to be fun.
yeah.
If you're available on August the 14th, 15th, and 16th, definitely come by because or jump on virtually, because I would
Yeah.
love to have some real good filmmakers asking them some really good specific
Mm.
pertinent questions. So yeah,
I
this is
feel
the whole
bad
point.
though,
Huh?
because Linda with Indie Rights, we were thinking about Echo Wave, but we ended up doing Film Hub. So I feel like, ooh, because actually I did meet her at her place,
Mhm.
and me and Takashi, we had a chat. They're lovely people though,
Yeah, the
really.
straight
But
20%, right? I think their deal is like 20 or something like that. I don't know. No fees. It sounds real
yeah,
good. And I
yeah,
want people
yeah.
to know what the options are, because I think a lot of people
I think
walk into
they're the only good options out there
because a
for
lot of
someone
people
from
walk
that
out and they
place.
go, I've heard somebody recently in an interview talking about Maverick. I don't know them, but I heard him mention Maverick. Uh,
They sound
it was a gentleman out of Houston who was talking about making six figures in film. And he mentioned Maverick as his distributor. He says he's had a good experience with them. And I think my friend James Drake, another friend of the festival, he screened Isolation. I think he's going through MPX and he's had a good time so far. So we're trying to
yeah.
build up a list of legitimate good distributors and sales agents and
Mhm.
people who do their job. So if you know
Yeah.
anyone, everybody in the audience, if you've had a good experience with someone,
Mhm.
drop a comment, shoot us an email. We want to make sure other indie filmmakers know who to talk to and who not to
I'm
talk to.
kind of keen also. This is the hard thing to find out is like, what are the numbers? You know what I mean? That's always so hard. Like for me, I'm pretty transparent. I'm like, hey, we made $10,000. You know,
Yeah.
like it's been 2 years, and you know, just being putting it out there. But I'm kind of keen on knowing like when people go and how much do they make.
Yeah.
And I do get a lot of filmmakers who be like, yeah, it was really good. I'm like, yeah, but can you tell me the
Did you make
numbers?
your
I'm like,
money back?
oh, yeah, you know what I'm
what
saying. So
what does that mean?
because that would be good if we can be more transparent and share. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? I only know one other friend of mine that went with, is it Indie Visions?
Okay.
And yeah, definitely zero,
Oh,
nothing.
okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
Nothing.
Well, I'm definitely
Poor
going
girls, she got that
to.
movie everywhere. Like it was pirated in like Russia and everything.
Oh, wow.
It was on DVD. It was sold in Walmart everywhere, right?
That
But then
yeah.
she got nothing.
That sucks.
So
Stop legging out there, okay? You put the skull and crossbones down. I know everyone talks about the internet and oh, everything should be free. No, it's not all supposed to be free, okay?
mm,
It takes energy, it takes money, it takes a lot of time to make these movies. Please do not steal from creatives who are trying to make their way. Don't be that guy. You know, you can
yeah,
skip the burger today and you can buy the thing and you cannot be a dirtbag about it. And I'll say that. I don't normally that strong, but you're stealing. Please stop it. So
mm,
I was not, I'm off on a tangent right now from where I wanted to go in this conversation. No, but that's awesome. So, like I said, one of the things we're trying to do at Austin Action Fest is the experience you described at AFM. We want to have the opposite of that. So, like, I can't release it yet. If I'll tell, there's a thing we're doing right now that is related to a character I think you played one time. I think I saw you in like a cosplay of Chun-Li or something.
oh, Chun-Li, yeah, Chun-Li versus everybody, yeah, as
If
a short film.
there's a thing that we're trying to do right now, and if it goes the right way, we'll be doing some gaming at this year's tournament in honor of Street Fighter coming out, because I'm a huge Street Fighter fan.
Mm.
So I don't know if you can see that, but that is Akuma. She moved it to the
Oh,
back.
I
And
can see
that
it.
is
Yeah.
Akuma right there as a statue. So normally I have these big beads on. They're because of Akuma. Like those are Akuma beads. And so for the Shun Goku Sats and Satsui no Hado. But anyways, nerding out. The point is, if that goes like I want that to go, I got some secret plans in the works. I'll let you know about that. I think you guys would enjoy that. Good reason to come visit us again in Texas. But the whole point is we want the event to be fun. And I don't want the event to be stuffy. And I don't want it to be all highfalutin. It's like, no. Yeah, people are going to try to do business. We want them to do business. But I don't want it to be like how you just described AFM. I don't want someone to walk away with that experience. And I want people who make a $10,000 movie, make a $20,000 movie, to have an opportunity to recoup that somewhere.
Mm.
Because in reality, if I go to see a Star Wars film, right, love it or hate it, that's typically something, or Avatar, that's something I need to see in a theater, right? Like it's designed for me to want to spend the money it's a blockbuster, right? A smaller drama, I probably don't need to do that. But a lot of people, they don't even care about going to the theaters anyway, especially after COVID. A lot of people just like, I could just watch this at home. I got a 70-inch TV with surround sound. I don't care. My kid's going to cry. I'd rather just do it at the house. And they're going to wait for these movies to come out on DVD, which to a certain extent levels the playing field for our movies and those blockbusters. Because our movies, if I made it for 10 grand, you're probably not, unless I go crazy, you're probably not killing to go to the theater. You're probably willing to rent it on a streaming for $2 or $3
Yeah.
and have a good time,
Yeah.
right? My favorite fantasy movie outside of Lord of the Rings is like Shadow of the Cabal. It is an indie looking fantasy movie. It doesn't have the best looking characters. No. Good enough. The costume is fun. I like the acting. The fighting is good enough. I liked it. And so it's my favorite, right? $2, $3. I'll do that. I bought it for like $10.
Mm,
Would I have gone to the theater to see it if I saw a trailer for it? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not.
mm,
But at home, that movie will stand up with just about any other fantasy movie I've watched. And I've
mhm.
watched a lot of big budget movies, and they're bad.
Yeah.
I spent
Yeah.
$14 and it's bad, and I don't want to be here. So,
Mm,
so I think the fact that people are watching things at home also, and to a certain extent, levels a playing field. So if you're trying to get
mm,
distribution, there should be a distributor who knows that and is like, hey,
yeah.
you're gonna watch this on a plane. You're gonna watch this in a
Mhm.
at your house. What difference does it make if it's a $45 billion movie or a
Yeah.
$100,000 movie on this screen with these headphones? These are pretty close. There should be
Mm,
room for us. So we're actively wanting to make room for those things to happen. That's our
mm.
ask. That's our goal. So
Yeah. Well, and I think it's good that you are doing that because we all know that the independent film like industry distribution, the market is growing. It's just the fact that how we, as a maker, how we get our films out there without losing, like you said, the rights, or like basically the profit is made through someone else and you never see a cent, which is
yeah.
a very common thing. I don't know how many filmmakers that get duped by it and then they don't make another film because they're like, that was just it. I
Yeah.
thought I was gonna get something and nothing. And then really kills our industry. But at the same time, streaming is creating, massive demand for content. So
Yeah,
much that
it
the
can't keep
mainstream
up.
cannot fill it up, especially the action genre,
Yeah,
because
like
it's so expensive to
like
make it anyway.
I think I've watched everything. I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I'll watch them if they're
Mm,
on, if they're a big one, but it's not like my main genre. I went through these streamers, Primes, the Hulus, and I've watched everything anime that had fighting or fantasy in it. Then I
mm,
watched every on all the platforms, including Tubi. And then I was
mm.
like, all right, well, I guess horror is the only supernatural thing I can watch. So then I started watching random horror movies because there's not
Yeah.
enough content. There are
Mm,
not enough TV shows. There are not enough movies that are the
mm,
type of action that I like to
mm.
watch, and you end up having four different subscriptions because there's not enough content. And so
Yeah.
clearly clearly the market's going to have to make some kind. That's not true. I think the market should make some kind of shift. I'm not saying that they're going to. They don't have to
Mm,
do anything at all. But I feel like if someone can figure out how to do that well, these independent films can fill in all these gaps that this
mm.
content lackage that you have. These we can do some quality indie films. You give
Yeah.
people some decent deals, and if you please, for the love of God, any of these streamers gave us any of the data. Like, I would love to know if most of my viewers of my movie on Netflix or on Amazon Prime was
Mm,
30-year-old males from Wisconsin.
mm.
I would write an entire subplot relating to cheese in there just for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would adjust the content to match up with what people wanted a little bit.
Actually, being on Film Hub,
Mhm,
like when myself and Elizabeth, well, the team, we made the second and third one,
mhm.
we actually draw upon the data from Film Hub. Like we realize, oh, okay, most of the people who watch it are from this area, and
Awesome.
they're males, and and it's so important that when you get the data, then you know what to make because you're like, I actually want these. If these people are watching it, then we want to tap them again. You know what I
Yes,
mean? They're
absolutely.
probably going to be producers in this area that does this as well. So
Got it.
you are right that when networks or whoever you put your films to, if you can get some sort of numbers, that is such a good point. Even if you don't make a big return, doesn't matter. As long as you know you got some data, then you can restructure and figure where to go from there. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
so
I,
that's a
I
really important thing.
I think the numbers, the getting scientific, and I know everyone doesn't want to do this, getting scientific and getting down to the nitty gritty of business. They say if you can't manage what you can't measure. So you
Mm,
have to get down into to the nitty gritty. Like, even right now, we're polling. We did I don't know if you know, but we did a stunt intensive last year. So
Mm.
it was the first time we did that, where we actually had a full day with a bunch of stunt coordinators for people to come out. Not only did they do stunts and train with the coordinators who also hired a bunch of them for things throughout the year. Um,
Wow.
we also had auditions in the back with a casting director
Mm.
who directs and produces his own movies. So people got to audition for that person. And then I was already casting for movies. So like you had all these opportunities to try to get work, like a networking hub for work, right? That's what we're doing. But it was really, really cool because when we started planning out this year, we're looking at the numbers. What classes did they like? What classes did
Yeah.
they not like? Then we just asked them straight up, what do you want to focus on this year? Are there any
Mm.
specific skills you want us to, like a business? Like I'm not here to tell you what you need.
Mm.
I want to know what you're looking for, and then I can staff or we can adjust the curriculum
Yeah.
so that you're happy with what you get this year. So we're really excited. We're probably going to end up breaking it up into 2 days. So like a
Mm.
a beginner day, and also for younger people to participate who
Wow.
maybe shouldn't be with the bigger people doing more complicated things. So if we're like
Mm.
rappelling down buildings and then you got to strike a guy with a rifle commando roll, kick someone and get
Mm.
yanked on the wire, that might be a bit much for 7-year-olds.
Much for kids. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a beginner day we're going to probably looking at doing, and then we're having an advanced day for people who
Mm.
really, want to get into the
Mm.
nitty gritty. So this is
That's
the kind of
cool.
stuff we're talking about doing, but we could not do that without emails to talk to people and data
Yeah.
from what they said they liked and didn't like on exit surveys. So
Mm.
I think that's how independent filmmakers can move forward and win, is when we start to do these things scientifically. I mean, you want to make your
Yes.
vision, and know you want to do your passion, not knocking that. But in addition to that, you want to be looking at the market and figuring out what niche you're going to serve so that you can get
Mm.
your money back so you can go make the next movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because we all know 97% of films, indie movies don't make their money, don't make a profit. So
that was
97 is pretty crazy, right? That's a
that's rough.
huge, so, and also 90% of them don't reach the mainstream theaters. So we know the odds are against like indie filmmakers. But if we can kind of go, wait a minute, if we factor those things in, we can just plan it ahead. Like for me, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to not make a profit. Then I'll just make my films really cheap so I can know I can reach that bar. Oh, I want to get it into the theaters, but I don't want to wait for someone else to do it. I might as well figure out how much it costs,
Yeah,
factor that into the budget, and then tick that box.
just for a
So
wallet.
we have to do it like that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I've kept you here for about an hour 20. I'm trying to stay on time here. What are some things that you want people that we skip that you really want people to know or to be thinking about? Like, what's something that you really want to get out to let people know about indie film and moving forward, and how to make a career out of this thing, or at least do it in a way that is sustainable?
Oh, I think I've just said everything earlier,
Probably.
but it really comes down to you. Like for me, because I'm now like 41 now, and even the beginning of actually the end of last year,
Hmm.
there's a part of me that was like, should I just stop? Like I'm getting old, and I was thinking to myself, do I stop? Blah blah. But then I'm like, then what do I do? you know, I can just work and that's it. That's just sad, right? This is the thing that I do that creates the fire in who I am, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think it's just one of those things. If that's how you see the craft that you do, like, then you got to keep going. But if you're kind of like, oh my gosh, do I have to make a film? I'm so tired. Then it's obviously not for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like that's the fire that makes me feel good, brings a lot of people together, makes me feel young and still active.
Hmm.
And I still have the energy to do it.
Uh-huh.
And then yeah, but that's how we look at it as.
That's a great segue. And where can people find you if they want to hear more of your speeches, hear more from
Yeah.
your knowledge, and follow you and support your movies? Where can they go to find you?
Well, they can always check out echo8trilogy.com
Okay.
or just visit me on Instagram, mariatran.co, or Action Film Girl on Facebook. So I'm always there. I'm always yapping. Doing a lot of yapping these days.
And what's the name of your production company?
Phoenix Eye
See, I
Films.
was trying to lead you into it because you said lose the fire, rejuvenate. I was
Phoenix Eye.
trying to coach you
Yep.
back into that, but awesome. So, you know what, Maria, thank you so much for spending some time, dropping some knowledge. And anytime you want to come back and talk about anything, your experience and your journey that you want to share with the rest of our film fam, we are more than happy to have you here. You're always welcome. You guys are awesome. I cannot wait to see you at another event. Let me know when you have another project so we can
Yes.
screen it, even if it's a special screening. Like, I'm not opposed to, I know you got to do the festival run. And if it
Mm,
falls on different, your premieres happen in different places, but we would still love to
mm.
have you down in Austin to talk about some of your successes.
Sounds great. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Ben.
Well, everybody, take care. This has been Maria Tran. I am Ben Reddick, aka the Violence Conductor. I hope you've learned something. Go over to her socials and follow her. Please like and subscribe to us. Follow us. Let's build this army. Let's make some money. And let's have a good time fighting and doing things and making films. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Grinding through the system, never losing the mission. Action Addicts Podcast, our hustle's the vision. Talking film biz, tips with precision. If we can't make deals, then there's no collision. No biz, no show, that's the motto we breathe. Living